it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to Further Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And yeah, I know we're jumping on very, very early to do a bit of a preview here for the Liverpool game, and it's probably not what everybody wants to hear about after that game yesterday. But the Premier League train rolls on, Aston Villa's Premier League train, and the rest of their season rolls on. And I will talk a small little bit about yesterday's game because I didn't get to speak in the aftermath. So don't worry, I will talk a small bit about that. And then we will move in to previewing Liverpool, our Liverpool game that is upcoming as well. But before we do that, as I said, I wanted to just touch on a couple of things with you guys. That Ipswich game yesterday. It was one of three games this season that's got me a small bit hot under the collar by watching the game. But not for the same reason, I don't think, as an awful lot of people that would have been annoyed at that game. I've read a lot online, and once again, as I always say, I don't tell fans how to feel about games. I don't tell fans how to fan. I don't tell fans that their reactions after games are wrong. But my reaction after that game was that I didn't share the same disappointment that our build-up play. I didn't share the same disappointment that our attacking play as a lot of people did. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. But I thought that I gave a lot more credit, I think, than a lot of people did to Ipswich for the way that they defended. And bear that in mind. Now, once again, I will come to that in a moment with regards to what I think needs to change with that attack when we do speak about Liverpool. But the one thing that really, really annoyed me was that this team, when they have concentration lapses, and the goal came from a massive concentration lapse, and getting caught flat-footed in the full-back position, allows the ball to come across the goals. It shouldn't have been an issue. It shouldn't have been an area where we should have been under pressure. It shouldn't have been a situation whereby we should have allowed ourselves to clock off and to tune out there. And there was one man in the box, and I think we had three defenders in the box at that stage and a goalkeeper, and nobody was alert to it. So again, my big problem here is leadership. My big problem here is that back line. And I know we have to make changes in that back line with Boubacar Kamara having to come off and Tyrone Mings having to come on. Completely understand that. But we need to be better than that. We need to be better than that. Or come the end of the season, and I don't know how we're going to do it, there would need to be open heart surgery on that defence. If we cannot get concentration, if we cannot get leadership, if we cannot get those staples that we see from teams that are far lesser than us. We saw it from Ipswich at the weekend. They were all on their game. They were all concentrating. They were all, there was none of them kind of letting their guard down. Even the goal we did score, there wasn't really much that they could have done from that. It was an absolutely cracking finish from Ollie Watkins. And we don't do that. And I don't know whether it's arrogance, whether it's foolishness, whether it's lack of intensity. But that's really what really annoyed me about the game was we had one chance to deal with. We had one chance of significant danger that we had to deal with. And the players couldn't meet the mark. The defenders couldn't meet the mark. Ian Matson couldn't meet the mark to stop that cross. He was caught completely flat-footed. Tyrone Mings is in a decent position, but the ball goes past him. The Sassy's there. No one's shouting from behind. Right back, okay, let's not blame Andres Garcia, but nobody is talking to each other there. There was one man in the box, Liam Delap. Tyrone Mings could have been facing the wrong way when that ball came in and just directing everybody if he wanted it. There was no danger until there was danger. And there shouldn't have been danger because we had so many people just there looking at it and not communicating. And that's happened often. That's happened way too often this season. And that's what really pissed me off about that game yesterday. That's what would piss me off probably a couple more times, because I don't know, no matter what back four we put in, and I know we've had 10 centre-half combinations. I know that we have, Paddy sent me a statistic today. Just give me one moment. I'm actually going to put it on my phone. I completely understand all this context, but it still is like you're still allowed to be annoyed by it during when you see it happen week in, week out. Let me just look up this statistic, guys. Just give me a second there. So Aston Villa have now had a player. I haven't checked this, by the way. Paddy sent it to me, and I don't think he's checked it either. But Aston Villa have now had a player substituted in the first half due to injury in all of their last 5 games and 8 of their last 11. Now that's not. Look, that is incredibly bad fortune. That's incredibly bad fortune, for something like that to happen. But when you have somebody who's got the experience of Tyrone Mings and an Axel Disasi coming in there, and you've got Ian Matson, and yes, the least experienced guy didn't contribute to the conceding of the goal at all in our defence. It just has to stop. It really has to stop. It's so annoying. It's so frustrating. It looks very amateur. It looks very unorganized, and that's why I tweeted and I said, if this keeps on happening and players aren't staying alert to situations like that, and you can use any word to describe what you want it to be then, because it's plagued us all this season. It's plagued us, regardless of which one of our 10 centre half combinations that we've had this season. It's still plagued us, so it needs to stop. And like we needed to win that game yesterday, and we didn't. We got a draw. Just like we stole a draw from the jaws of victory, just like we did in the reverse fixture, just like we did against Bournemouth, just like we did against Manchester United when we drew 0-0, just like when we drew Wolves 2-2, just like when we Bournemouth 1-1. They're valuable points that have been lost that we now are we are now losing the opportunity to regain those points. And that's frustrating. And I've gotten it off my chest. And yes, was the finishing brilliant? No, it wasn't. But going into this Liverpool game, I think we're hamstrung in defence, and I completely understand the context there. But if there was ever a reason to be more tuned in, to be more alert, to be more intense, I suppose, in how you're going to do things, it's when you are down to the bare bones. It's when you're down to the bare bones, because you have a very, very small margin of error. And that didn't happen at the weekend. And Liam Delap gets across his man and scores a pretty easy goal for a finish. So going to draw a line under Ipswich. I just need to get it off my chest. I know a lot of people have messaged me, including somebody messaging me at 3:15 this morning, giving out to me for not doing a podcast on my own after the game. I do apologize for not coming on. One of my kids thinks he can fly at the moment, and you should have seen the fall he took off a chair. My God, if there was video footage of it, he'd be taken away from me due to negligence. But my God, he thinks he can fly at the moment. He's okay, but he's not good for the heart when a kid just launches itself off the kitchen table onto the floor, and he's only 2 years of age. And so that's why I wasn't on the podcast. But let's move forward anyway towards Liverpool, because look, can't hide away from it. Gonna have to play them on Wednesday. Just going to have to play them on Wednesday. And we're playing them at home. And I think one of the shining lights and one of the silver linings for stuff like this is that Villa seem to up their game against opposition. Like Villa seem to thrive on being underdogs. They seem to thrive on the brass ring of expectation of claiming a scalp. But then they also seem to fall in the face of when the team maybe feels the scalp isn't big enough, they don't meet the mark, as we can say at the weekend. Now, a lot of people, I haven't opened the comments yet, and I will open them in a moment. I'm sure a lot of people are saying Liverpool are going to beat us 12-0. That's just always what happens whenever we lose. We always get comments like that, and you guys may very well be right. Liverpool might beat us 12-0. I would be surprised, but Liverpool, there is always a possibility that Liverpool could beat us 12-0. But I think what Aston Villa need to do now is they need to grab the nettle. They need to grab the nettle, and Marcus Rashford will start, I think, this game. I think we need to attack these guys because they are brittle at the back. Andy Robertson played everybody on today. Trent Alexander-Arnold today against Wolves. Yes, he was fine. But, Liverpool, I think the only way we can even attempt to go and beat Liverpool is to draw them out and to catch them on a counter-attack. And one of the best ways to do that would be with Marcus Rashford. I'm even for starting Asensio in this game. I think you give them both barrels. I think you give them both barrels in this game. And see, come what may, because I don't think that Aston Villa are going to be able to shut up shop for 70 minutes and catch them on the break and then bring the guys on and attack them that way. Like Rashford was arguably the most creative player in the field when he came on at the weekend. And I think it's time to just play him at left wing. JJ's been great, but we need to start scoring goals. We need to start being creative. And I think I think now is the time. I think now is the time. A lot of people, and you know what? I think we do the same against Chelsea. Considering we've got a small bit of, I won't say break, but we've obviously got the FA Cup then coming up the week afterwards or whatever. But like, if we don't get points in these two games, Europe is a pipe dream. And you got to play the urgency for the moment that you're in. And these two games are the most important two games that we have at this moment in time. And I think we utilize what we have in these games, knowing that, yes, look, we do have games coming up, but we have an FA Cup game coming up also soon, and without overlooking Cardiff, I don't think Aston Villa are capable of overlooking any team at the moment. Without overlooking Cardiff, you got to focus on the next two games, and you got to actually focus on the next game, which is Liverpool. We're not going to know who's going to be available in defence until Tuesday, probably when we hear from Unai. I don't know when he's press conference. Does he have a press conference tomorrow? I'm not 100% sure. But we are so hamstrung back there. Like Axel Disasi, you would imagine, will definitely play. Tyrone Mings will definitely play. So we're going to have two centre halves anyway, I would imagine, for this game. Whether we have a third in Ezri Konsa, I don't know. For me, Luca Dean, have to find a way of getting 90 minutes out of Luca Dean from here on in. I'm more assured by him with his defensive capabilities than I am by Ian Maatson currently. And I think in this game, obviously, Luca Dean will play unless he's injured. Once again, I haven't heard it. Why was he taken off at half-time? Anybody? I'm going to come to the comments there. I haven't heard if he was injured or anything like that. But without Boubacar Kamara, and does anybody? We haven't heard about that in Boubacar Kamara yet. It's like Unai said that he doesn't. So actually, okay, right. I mean this in the best way possible. I'm not having to go off the aggregation sites that we have, because we've got some wonderful aggregation sites. Jesus, I wouldn't get any news if it wasn't for Villa Report or for any of the rest of the guys that are. But some of them, not Villa Report, some of them completely and utterly misquoted Unai yesterday with regards to what he said. And they said that it looks like a big injury. And Unai Emery didn't say that. It looked like a big injury. From what I remember, he said it didn't look like a big injury, but they're going to have to find out. So what happened to Boubacar Kamara was, I thought he came to the side of the field. I thought he might have been ill. I thought it might have been a tweak, something along those lines. He was caught in possession and did try and pass the ball out, if I'm not mistaken, just beforehand. And the Ipswich man closed him down. I think that happened maybe about 2-3 minutes beforehand. And it was uncharacteristic for him to be caught in possession like that. So we'll see what happens with Boubacar Kamara. Because if we have Boubacar Kamara and he steps in there beside Yuri Tielemans again, well then, and that's not denigrating John McGinn. Don't think he was at fault for anything at the weekend. But we want to be as teeth tough as we possibly can in those central areas. And Boubacar Kamara is one of the best holding midfielders probably in the league at the moment. So getting him back in the field and having him in his position is fantastic now that we have two fit centre halves, which seems like a luxury for us at the moment. Be also interesting to see what the story is with Konsa, see if he's ready. Don't expect him to be, but it would be great to have that in the bench as well. So press conference is going to hold an awful lot. But what I am expecting, and I would be slightly disappointed if we don't see Marcus Rashford, at least of those two, start this game against Liverpool. I would be disappointed. because both games he's come on, he's looked really sharp. Can he do it for 90 minutes? I don't know. But I don't want to find out if we can stay in the game at 0-0 for 60 minutes and then bring Marcus Rashford on. I want to see if we can go 1-0 up against Liverpool and hold on to 1-0, 1-all after 60 minutes. That's what I want to see. I certainly don't want to see us try and curtail them to 0-all and then bring people on and have that splash. I don't feel that this is the game for that. I feel this is the game to try and grab it as early as you can, shock Liverpool as much as you can, shock probably the best team in Europe currently at the moment, and go for it that way. Otherwise, in these big games that we have, arguably Ipswich is as big a game. But if you're playing against these big teams and you've got these big game players, these players that have experience of playing in huge games, the Asensios, the Rashfords and all that, you're not going to start them against Liverpool or Chelsea. For me, it's going to grind against me. It's going to grate against me. No, he may not. I'm only about 70% sure that he's probably going to start them. We know he likes to integrate players slowly into the team. And that's fine. But the games we need them for, the big games we need them for, are coming now. So I fully expect to see Rashford at least start, and probably take it from there then with regards to whether Asensio starts on the other side. I don't know. But the press conference, as I said, is going to be hugely, hugely important. Finding out what kind of reinforcements, what kind of deck we have to shuffle at the back is very important as well. And obviously finding out if Boubacar Kamara is injured, how long he's going to be out, and seeing some more from that, I think would be interesting. Would be very, very interesting indeed. I'm going to come to some of your comments here, guys. Obviously, I won't be able to read all of them, but yeah. So Stephen Wright says, my 2 pence worth. We're in a transitional phase, and to be honest, I love it. Watch this space. I agree with you. I know people won't want to hear that, but I think that we'll get into what I think about that. I'm actually going to bookmark that comment, Stephen. I'm going to come to it because I want to do something over the coming days. I'm off work for the next 2 days, so maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. There's 2 players specifically, 3 players actually specifically I want to talk about. And it's kind of a curious case series about, let's talk about them, maybe what perception about where they are this year as they were last year. Has there been regression? Has there been progression, and so on? So we might park that again in a moment, because I've got views on that, Stephen. So let's look out for something that I'm going to do in the next few days on that. Where are we here as well? A couple of people. Melty says, I love this. Stuttering in the league just gives added motivation to win the Champions League this season, I guess. I think you're dead right, Melty. I think you're dead right. Look, I have one of your stickers here on my desk of Melty's sticker. Go on Melty shirts, Etsy as well, guys. There's some really, really great Aston Villa stuff there. This isn't sponsored or anything like that. I just bought these off him because I really like his stuff. He's got t-shirts and stuff. But wouldn't it be great to see Pau Torres with the cup on his head later on this year? I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I think it'd be brilliant. Paul S., poor performance. We're in the bottom half this year. Too many bad results, Neil. I agree with the bad results, but we're not a bottom half team. So we can talk about, what you say is right. Too many bad results. I 100% agree with that. I absolutely 100% agree. And people are going to say, but you finish where you finish in the league. And that takes all context out of situations. It takes all injury context. It takes all context about poor refereeing decisions, brilliant goalkeeping saves and everything like that. So without going down the line of that, we're not a bottom half team, but we have had some poor performances this year. I completely agree with you. Absolutely. And that pissed me off, to be honest, because we didn't have those 2 years ago when Unai first came in. We didn't have that rocky mentality, that lethargy, that lackadaisicalism, if that even is a word. We didn't have that 2 years ago. We didn't have it at the start of last year. But we have had it recently, in the last 12 months. And where does that come from? Where does that suddenly creep in? Now, other teams are allowed to figure us out as well. That's fine. But that's the thing. I don't think teams have figured us out in these games we've lost points. I don't think you have, because we've absolutely owned the game. We've Like, we battered Ipswich with 75% of the possession. And we, people can say, yeah, we didn't do a whole pile about it, but we were methodical. Our process worked to a point. We should have got more balls into the box. And I think, once again, I think maybe if you start the Marcus Rashford in that game, I think we're out of sight at halftime. That wasn't the case. We didn't. And we let it run down our leg, and we lost those points there at the weekend, and it's very frustrating. It really, really is. But we certainly have had some bad results this season, and I completely agree with you. Adam asks me, do you think we'll still get top 5? No, I don't. At the start of the season, I would love if we did. Mathematically, we can. Yes. Do I think we can get top 5? Yes. Do I think we will? No, I don't. I'm going to be really, really honest. I think after we lost the Wolves game, in the back of my mind, and you know me, guys, I'm super optimistic. I don't come on here and start. I don't say things to try to be right. I say things as exactly how I feel them. But sometimes I suppress negativity, and I do, and I'm okay with that. I just feel it suits my personality better. I feel it suits me. It allows me to be truer in how I converse and how I describe things and stuff like that. And I think really, maybe it was because I was dying with a hangover after my stag. But I think the 2-0 loss to Wolves, I think that for me, a win against Wolves, a win against Ipswich, I would be sitting here saying top 5 momentum is on our side here. 13 games left. We need a big shift. And we've got 2 games coming up against Chelsea and Liverpool. Unless we get 6 points out of these 2, it's going to be really difficult to get top 5. Now, at the start of the season, I said that we would finish 7th in the league because I thought that we would have games. I didn't want there to be, but I thought that there would be games that we would prioritize over others. And I thought we'd be better in games after the Champions League, but we weren't. And obviously we're going to win the Champions League. We've established that already. And now we're going to win the FA Cup as well. We've established that a couple of weeks ago. But I think that the Premier League it's been difficult. I think the Premier League has been really difficult for a lot of teams this year. I think it's been a really difficult league this year, outside of the likes of Bournemouth, who've had pretty good. Well, I don't know if their injury record has been as good as others, but Forest have had a brilliant injury record. You see where they are in the league. Liverpool's injury record has been okay. I think teams like ourselves, we have gotten the injury bug. It's not an excuse, it's context. I wish we didn't. It was the one thing I prayed for at Christmas time when we said, what Christmas present or what New Year's present would we like to give the team? It would have been clean bill of health, and we've had absolutely nothing but injuries since. Do I think we can still get top 5? I think we can. Do I think we will? No, I don't. And it's a shame because I've rattled off points that we've lost needlessly. That if we had those on the board, I think objectively I would be able to say top 5 is a real reality. It's when I talk about it at the moment, it would take a long line of Grim Reapers knocking on doors, slaying teams between now and the end of the season. Like, of the 13 games, we would need to win at least 9, I think, to get into the Champions League places this year. It's not impossible, but it's improbable, is what I would say. Where are we going here? Also, Adam thinks that we can beat Liverpool. I think that's the sad thing. I think we can beat Liverpool and Chelsea as well because we're playing them at home. I think we can. We've done this. We had a shocking result against was it against Ipswich where we drew 2-2? We had that shocker, or was it against Bournemouth where we drew 1-1 and then we went out and we beat Arsenal and Man City? I'm confusing an awful lot of things. I'm trying to see in my mind's eye a screenshot I saw earlier on Twitter today, but we went out and we had 2 good results after that as well. Can we go away and do it this time? Time will tell. That's how Jekyll and Hyde we can be from a confidence point of view. It's like as if we're more confident when we're playing teams that we expect when we're playing teams that would be a scalp for this team. But great teams just beat everybody in front of them, and we haven't been able to do that. So therefore, we're not a great team in the greater scheme of things. And I think that's fair. I don't think I'm I don't think I am telling anybody anything they don't know from that point of view. Edmund, Mings was too deep as the ball has to be cut back from the winger. Mings has to know where the attacker is. Look, I don't know. I'm like, I don't think there's any point in having an argument or anything like that over that. I don't believe in it vehemently enough to and plus I don't have any video of it here. I'm sure we could break it down. Maybe you're right, but my memory of it is, look, Mings was where he was, the ball was cut back, and there was just no conversation between anyone, between Emmy, between Andreas, between Disasi, between Mings. And look, that's probably what happens when you've got 4 players who've never played together, 5 players who've never played together before. But it needs to stop. It's not just this game. It's happened in countless games. It's happened in at least 7 or 8 times this year. We've conceded by just lack of positioning, lack of nous, lack of conversation and communication, as well, as I think too. But you could be right, Edmund. I just don't have still shots or anything up here to look at it, and I'm just going on memory. You could be right. Paul S says that Onana needs to stop smoking weed and get fit. That could be slanderous. I don't know. Was he smoking weed? Was there anything up there about that? I don't know. Man pulled a hamstring. I think it's fair enough. I'm not blaming players for getting injured. Like, that'll drive people mad. That would drive me mad if I was blaming players for getting injured, because you can't have any control over it. It's bad luck in a lot of instances as well. But it would be great to have Onana back. It would be, because every time his season looks like it's getting going again, he seems to pick up a little knock. John Steele asks, what's the story with Bailey? Picked up a small injury in training, it seems. Picks up a small injury in training. Where are we here? I think I'm very far behind here on the chat. Derek makes a good point here. It's the mirror of Newcastle when they were struggling with Champions League and Premiership form. But you see, I agree to a certain point. I thought about this today. You're inside my head now, Derek, with this one, because you must have been thinking about this the same way I was today. So I thought about this today, and don't know what happened there. And what I was thinking about here was, we've not had, and touch wood, and Jesus, we don't need, and I can't find any wood to touch now at the moment. Newcastle has bad long-term injuries that had, like Sven Botman out for the year, that kind of stuff that were like really detrimental to them. What we've had these crappy little ones that just happen all the time and have compounded 3 weeks out here or 4 weeks out here, and then next thing we get somebody back, someone else is gone. And once again, I'm touching all the wood because I don't want to be a jinx. Sometimes when you lose somebody and they're out for the year, you can plan for the rest of the year. But what you're doing is you're band-aiding and you're putting stuff over when you've got people who are out for 3 weeks here, 4 weeks here, 2 weeks here, and all that. But the sentiment of what you say is exactly correct. It is difficult when you have a team that isn't teak tested and isn't tough and playing in 3 different fronts. Like, we haven't been this far in the FA Cup. That's not an excuse. It's only a one-off game here and there. But last year we played in the Europa League. There were a couple of games there we could have moved mock backwards and still, for 60 minutes of the game and turned it on for 30 minutes. And we can't do that in the Champions League. So I 100% agree with you that we are struggling a la Newcastle. I think the struggles, though, are in 2 separate ways, where they lost quite a few people to long-term injuries. We haven't this year, and hopefully we don't. And I think that's been an annoyance for Unai Emery, the fact that he can never go for a 3 or 4 week period and have stability in his first 11. But yeah, you're bang on the money, the mirror of that. And I'm sure if a team like Forest or somebody like that gets into the Champions League next year, they will face the exact same fate, because you need to learn how to do it. Paddy's after joining out of he's just got up off his chair. Paddy's after joining out of nowhere. It's great. I wasn't expecting Paddy at all. Paddy, how are you?
Good evening. How are we doing?
Evening. We're doing good. I'm just waffling here. answering some questions and trying to get my head around that Ipswich that Ipswich loss. I was going to say, that Ipswich
feels like a loss.
Yeah, the Ipswich draw. We've drawn a line under it anyway, and we're on to Liverpool. What I was saying about Liverpool, Paddy, is that we've brought in the likes of Asensio and Rashford here, and they're big game players. They've been in big games, and to be honest with you, the two biggest games we have up and coming are the next two games that we have. So I'm fully expecting at least Rashford to start, and if he doesn't, I don't know. I'll be a bit annoyed. What do you think, Paddy?
Yeah, I think we're all a bit annoyed. I think yesterday has really broken us all at this stage. I think everybody's just a bit disillusioned. So we need a big performance this week, and the big performance means that you're gonna have to throw our big name players in there, and that starts on Wednesday, and it's got to be the two boys for me. Whether that's Asensio probably won't start, but I would definitely start Rashford 100%. Being Liverpool, being the rivalry that he's had with them over the years, I think it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I would start Rashford, because look, and I know for a fact there's going to be somebody who's going to comment on this afterwards and going to tell me that Rashford should never sign for Aston Villa. He's bad in the dressing room and so on. I read all the comments that come in here afterwards, and people are entitled to their opinions, and that's fine. I don't interact with it because that's this person's opinion. They're more than entitled to it. Absolutely more than entitled to it. And they can copy and paste it into every single podcast that we do. I have no problem with that because they feel that strongly about it. But I think when you bring a Rashford, you put a Liverpool jersey in front of him, like he's grown up since he was tied to a grasshopper with that rivalry of Liverpool and Manchester United. He's out of the toxic environment of Manchester United at the moment. He's with Aston Villa. I just think it's a game for him to start. I really, really do. And like, he's been seriously creative when he's come on. He's been like, he was the most creative person on the field on Saturday. The statistics bear it out. So, you know, he created the most big chances, all that kind of stuff. So I think you release him and you let him fly at the weekend and let him run at Trent Alexander-Arnold. Let him get in there, and you know, once he gets past Trent Alexander-Arnold, let him do his shimmy on the edge of the area and see if Konate wants to clip his heels. You know, all that, because he's done it a couple of times after 60 minutes or whenever he's come on. I want us to do it from the start, because I don't think we can afford to hope we hold out until 60 minutes against the best team in Europe and then spring these guys on the bench. I think we go balls to the wall from the start and be the masters of our own destiny. And if we lose 4-0, we lose 4-0. But I think we need to come out swinging.
We're not going to turn over that goal difference no matter what we do between now and the end of the season. So go for it. That's my opinion on it anyway. So put him in there definitely. Does it warrant dropping one of the other guys for it? I'm not so sure. I was a little bit disappointed that it was Mallon that came off and not Watkins, because I thought Mallon was offering something different. But obviously Watkins gets the goal. Who's to say Mallon doesn't get the goal? But I definitely think we have to start with Rashford at least, and go for it. Absolutely go for it. We've played really well against the bigger teams at home since Unai Emery's come in there. So there's another opportunity, and with that opportunity is all those new players. My biggest worry is still the defence. We need to sort the defence out. We can't give away the goals we're giving away and expect to climb the table. And yesterday was just a prime example. That goal was absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, and as I said to you afterwards, like, it's very rare I don't come on post-match podcasts and stuff like that, and I didn't because there was a family emergency, if you want to call it that. And I hope my kid does learn how to fly, to be honest with you, because it'd be fucking great if he did. You know, it'd be absolutely super. He'd be in the papers and I wouldn't have to worry about him. He'd be able to make his way in the world then. But at the moment he can't. But yeah, that goal was just lapse of concentration, and you know, we've had that 4 or 5 times, and it's cost us about, like, lapse of concentrations cost us maybe 10 points this season. You know, 10 points, a lot of points, a lot of games that you can't get back.
Well, I sent you, I don't know whether you read it this morning.
I read it out. Yeah, I read it out about the different centre-half partnerships and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I read it out earlier on.
Yeah. 17 points is what I worked out. 17 points dropped. That 17 points is the difference, was being where we are now and being in second place. Somebody started a comment there. Somebody asked,
do you think we can? Yeah. So Adam asked me the exact same thing. He asked me if I thought we'd finish top 5. I said it's not impossible, but at the moment it looks improbable. What do you think, Paddy?
Exactly that. And I think my answer changes if we go and beat Liverpool or Chelsea or both. It changes week on week. But at the moment, I'm deflated enough to say, no, I doubt we'll get top 5 at the moment, because when we seem to get a run of results that go for us, we don't capitalise on it. And it's those games that I sent to you, the 17 points that I reckon we dropped, that just have knocked the stuffing out of me.
Oh, I didn't read that
now,
out.
There's nothing to say with what we've brought in. If we can get a clean bill of health and get our centre halves back and get Pau Torres back and get Konza back, that we can't be looking up the table and getting there. But at the moment, I just can't see it.
I know. Yeah. Sorry, Edmund. Edmund, I know you're not arguing with me, but I was just saying that, like, I didn't have anything there to go on. I was only going on memory. So I suppose I was just highlighting it to say that could have been the case, but I didn't have a pungent opinion, and it's probably what I meant to say as opposed to saying argument. But like what I'm going to say here is, right, look, if we get 6 points out of Liverpool and Chelsea, you're damn straight I'm going to be shouting at the end of the Chelsea game saying we're getting fucking Champions League again. Because I'm an Aston Villa fan, as we said to David O'Leary. We're Aston Villa fans. We're fickle, you know. We can be up, we can be down as much as we can, and I'm more often than not up. As I said, I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's improbable. I think we need to win. I think we need to win 8 or 9 of our last 13 games. And can we go on that run? We've shown we can, but we've got 2 games coming up, and if we don't win both of these games, that means we need to win 8 or 9 out of 11. And can we do that? We've shown we can, but you know, we need to see that Grim Reaper line knocking on the door before you know, to get incredibly excited. Now, can other teams drop points? They absolutely can. They absolutely can. But these, like Chelsea is a big one. Winning against Chelsea at the weekend. Yeah, winning against Chelsea at the weekend, like, it is the proverbial 6-pointer. But it would be better if we were playing them 3 points behind them as opposed to being 5 points behind them. That is a big knock on the fit. But anyway, let's not count chickens with regards to where we're going to finish. I suppose. Let's go out against Liverpool and come up May there and attack them from the off, I think. Paddy, have you heard anything in the grapevine? Because I know that you've got spies and snipers in and around the place. Have you heard anything on Kamara?
Nothing as yet. They were only in for recovery today, so I would imagine the scan didn't take place this morning when they were in for recovery. So it'd probably be a day or 2 before we hear anything. But it appears to me, the untrained eye looking in from the conversation that was had when he walked to the side of the pitch was, remember that knock I was telling you about before the game? Well, I'm feeling it a bit. And he went, right, get off and let's rest it up with bigger games this week. If someone put a gun to my head and asked me how it was, that's what I'd say. That's just me and my history of watching what footballers are like. So I'm hoping that it was just a little twinge, didn't like it, had a chat with the bench, and the bench went, right, let's get off and get this sorted. Don't put any more strain on it today. And we have obviously Tyrone back there to fill in. So get yourself ready and back for Wednesday. So that's my opinion on it. I could be way off the mark, but just judging by the body language and everything that was going on around it, because it wasn't like he stopped the game or anything. He just made his way over when there was a player down injured to express his, obviously, dissatisfaction with how he was feeling, and that's where it ended up. So I'm hoping that's the case, and fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think so too. Marine Boy asks a question here. Do you think we sold the wrong striker? I think it's immaterial because I don't think John Duran had any inclination to stay with Aston Villa. So from that point of view, I think we sold the right striker.
And you know,
if
as
you're
well
trying
as
to hold on to your
else,
girlfriend and she wants to ride every other person in the nightclub, bigger fool you. That's genuinely.
I don't have the same love for Ollie Watkins as many people do, and I believe we held on to the right striker. Just on what you just said, and the fact that Ollie Watkins is coachable. Whether he will score all the chances I want him to score is another story. But he's coachable. He's doing the job that Unai Emery wants him to do, and we can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, and genuinely, this podcast won't be talking about John Duran much into the future. And the reason being is because you'll drive yourself nuts. You'll drive yourself mad. And it's waste for me. It's wasted thought. It's wasted conversation. Simply because he wanted to go to West Ham. He wanted to go to Chelsea. He wanted to go to West Ham, and then he wanted to go. And then he wanted to go to Saudi. So at some stage he was leaving. He wasn't bought into the project. He's a fantastically talented striker, but
yeah,
we won't be devoting an awful lot of time to speaking about him in future. He's going to
score
goals in Saudi.
In my opinion, he's gone. There's no point in talking about him now. Yeah. And I think the only talk we will have is in a few years' time going, Jesus, he really helped PSR for us that year. That's
hopefully.
That's the
or
only
maybe he comes back. Maybe we buy him
or,
back.
Or we go back. And look, we said it. I've said it. One of the greatest nights of my life following Aston Villa was his goal against Bayern Munich. And I will be forever grateful for him giving us that absolute stardust that night. It was unbelievable. Absolutely. So other than that, he's gone with my blessing, even though I don't have any love, as you know, for Ollie Watkins. I think he can do a whole lot more, but he obviously wasn't coachable from what we're hearing through the grapevine afterwards and the little snippets we're hearing. He wasn't coachable. He wasn't willing to change his ways. So it was changed for him. Off he goes. Huge money into our bank account. It will help us out with PSR. We've done really good business in January, getting the 2 loan players in. I think was brilliant. And let's see what the summer brings us. But I caught one of the comments. I think you had it up. We were in a period of transition or something along those lines. I think it was the one you had there. Was that the word?
Yeah, Stephen, up at the very top. Yeah, I said I was going to do. I said I was going to do a. I've got a podcast in mind for 3 specific players I want to highlight that are players of conversation at the moment, and then I want to talk more about that. Go on, I'll get your opinion on it.
No, well, look, I believe that is the case, and you know, if we can integrate these players quickly, then we've got a chance of getting into the Champions League. But it's all very well integrating these magic players in attack. If we can't defend the goals that we conceded yesterday, we're at nothing. We're absolutely at nothing, and we will be absolutely annihilated if we defend like that on Wednesday. So we just can't afford it. Absolutely can't afford it. So we need to defend better, and we need to take our chances when they come. And I will be as critical as anybody and I was. Asensio should have taken his chance yesterday. Watkins should have taken his chance yesterday. 2 of them go in. We're in a completely different mood today and much more buoyant. But they didn't go in. So we have to move on and hope that this kind of crack doesn't continue. But I think once we're a lot more solid at the back and stop giving this thing about giving away our first chance of the game and conceding. The first chance of the game yesterday was Boubacar Kamara taking a shot at Emi Martinez. You know, it's just one of those things. It's the defense that's costing us big time. If the defense is solid, if we're playing with the, you know, I know it's hard watch at times, that tempo. And look, I watched Liverpool doing it today. I had to turn it off. It's that this is modern football. Unless you've got a vested interest, the last thing you want to do is watch Liverpool playing that way and Jamie Carragher trying to justify it in the meantime. Just can't do it. It absolutely messes with my head. So turn it off.
We play the same way.
So we played yesterday.
And that's why you talk about vested interest.
Yeah. So I had my vested interest yesterday, and I was willing us, as much as I wanted us to go a little bit more direct and do something a little bit different. When we did something a little bit different, we got a couple of free kicks around the box. One of them led to the goal. So it was changing as the game went on. We did try and do a couple of little things to work our way into the box. But let's not go back to the days either of when we were putting, what do we count that time? 24 crosses in against Burnley and 24 headed away. Yeah, so this is modern football. If you don't like it, don't watch it. And as far as I'm concerned, I've no interest in watching it at the moment unless Villa are playing or a team that I have an interest in. So it's not going to change. That slow, patient build-up, that passing out from the back, that's not going to change. None of it is going to change until the next band of coaches come up with a way of changing the game and making it more effective. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at passing out from the back. We're looking at a possession-based game. And sometimes it's great to watch. Well,
Listen,
and it could be great to watch on Wednesday if Liverpool deploy that high line and we're looking at Rashford, Rodgers, Watkins, Bailey running at whoever it is running at that defence. It could be a joy to watch. But yesterday was turgid because, you know, you have that what I call the Bermuda Triangle where they set up with the 5-4-1 formation in front of the box, and you're just not getting into it. It's just impossible to break it down.
Yeah.
So we're going to get that. And as I said yesterday when I was on one of my own, we're a victim of our own success, because if we weren't a Champions League team and playing very well and having those brilliant players that we brought in January, they wouldn't be sitting back like that and they wouldn't be inviting us on. And then again, if we don't give away that sloppy goal, that makes it even harder again. They don't sit back as high as low either, because they are going to need to score and they want to try and catch us on the break. So there's loads of combinations and permutations to what happens during the game. But yesterday killed us with the goal we conceded. I've no doubt we'd have gone on and won the game if we didn't concede that goal, because we would have found a little bit of space as we drew them onto us.
Yeah. Do you know what? What I will say, and I'm not disagreeing with you on what you said about modern football, but I listened to a great interview with, I'm trying to think of his name. What's the Norwich manager's name? Johannes Torp, the Norwich manager. He gave an actual really insightful interview as to why. So a reporter had a go at him about playing out from the back, and he explained it in incredible detail as to why he does it, why teams do it. And he took more questions on it, and he almost gave a clinic on it. And go watch it. I'm not going to influence anyone. Go watch it. Find it and go watch it. He didn't argue with the interviewer. The interviewer wasn't arguing with him. It was a really measured, nice conversation they ended up having. And I remember watching it and listening to it and go, you actually might have seen it, sent it to me, Paddy. Or it was in a group we were in. But I remember going away and coming away from that and going, Jesus, yeah, he's explained it really well as to why teams do it. Is it the most pretty thing to do? And I think he says it in it. Is it the prettiest thing to do? Is it the nicest thing to do? Is it frustrating for the fans? Absolutely, we understand it. But as a collective, this is where I have to put my players in a position to be in control of it. Watch it. I'll butcher it. Watch it. Go find it. I found it was really good. Scotty UK says, Neil, I read we had 10 centre-half partnerships. Yeah, I think I mentioned it a couple of times already. We've had 10 centre-half partnerships, which obviously isn't ideal. And I don't think any manager would want that over the course of a year as well. I've completely lost where I was previously in the in this. I think people like my my girlfriend in the club analogy that I used. Yeah, look. Paddy, anything else, I suppose, on this Liverpool game coming up? Anything else on, it's hard to talk about it now on a Sunday when we've got Monday, Tuesday and no press conference. But I think we're both in agreement that the underlying feeling here is that we go with our triple barrel shotgun up top and we let them figure it out after that and see if we can take the game to them at home under lights on a Wednesday. I think we're both in agreement to that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both in agreement. Look, the last Liverpool game at home, we saw that bizarre Emi Martinez own goal, which actually led to a most bizarre game of football where we ended up drawing 3-3 and qualifying for the Champions League 2 nights later when Spurs dropped points against Man City. So anything is possible in this fixture. Obviously, we've been hammered twice away from home against them in the last 2 years. They're really well organised. They're well able to punish us. That's why the defence is worrying me the most. The Sazi, and look, we've seen it in the past. Our players rise when our defenders, especially, rise when they're under pressure and they're tuned in for the whole game. So the Wednesday will be like that. We do play better against better sides, so it will be there will be more space there. How we exploit it and how we take our chances will decide whether we get anything out of it. If you ask me now, am I expecting anything from it? No, I'm not expecting anything from it. But we will definitely give it a better go than we did yesterday, and I think it'll be a better game to watch than it was yesterday.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. I am feverishly clicking here. You might have seen I found something really, really interesting here that I am going to look into a small bit further. And I have found conversion percentages for all the strikers in the Premier League. Oh, it's 2023-24. Screw that. It's no good. That's last year's. Anyway, I'm going to try and find 2024, 2025. But it's just something interesting I want to see. Right. I think we're going to leave it at that. My voice still isn't fully fixed. It's better today. I think I've gotten through 50 minutes of pretty much solid talking and I haven't really lost it. So we seem to be on the mend. But I think we're going to
when I moved to Limerick, I found a phrase here that they use very often, and it actually applies to you in this situation. It'll be better before you get married.
Exactly. Yeah. My mother actually said that to me, and I went, I fucking hope so, because I'm getting married in just shy of 8 weeks, so I better hope so. Yeah. Right, anyway. So we're going to leave it at that, guys. Listen, this was supposed to be a 15-minute podcast. I didn't even know Paddy was jumping on. And when he did, I was more than happy. So thanks a million for all your questions, as always. Thanks a million for helping me get my head around a couple of things as well, because, no one here is a bloody expert. We're all only here just spouting our opinions. So it's always good to have you guys in the comments as well here, throwing stuff at me, throwing different perspectives and stuff, and never change. Anybody in the comments, never, ever change from that point of view. So we'll be back with a team sheet tantrum and post-match on Wednesday. And until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy. All that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.